What's happening, folks? Back with another reaction, back with some more acid techno, and we're back with a very special surprise, including to me in context. Allow me to explain, and indeed let me start by giving the most massive shout out to a great friend of mine, one of the top cats in the acid techno world, and just a cool person beyond. I'm talking Bad Boy Pete. Massive respect and shout out to you. And I've explained this in a few different videos, but a couple years ago I was lucky enough to collaborate with Pete a bit. It started with me providing a vocal sample for a track he did on Total Lost Records called Top of My Game, and I enjoyed doing that a great deal, and I think Pete had some fun with it. So eventually he asked if I wanted to collaborate on a track or two, which I was able to do. The first product of that collaboration was a tune called Acid Dub Techno Lineage on Acid Lab Records, which, like Total Lost Records, is from Spain. So big shout out to all the people involved in both of those labels. And at that same time, we made another tune, which was secretly my favorite of the three that I was involved with Pete in, which is to say a track that we decided to call Standing Up. Now, the reason for that is because at the beginning of that collaboration, Pete asked if I had any ideas for vocal samples. And, you know, as someone who's put samples in my DJ mixes for a long time, I'm always thinking about movie quotes and quotes from TV shows and so on. And one that I had long thought was just so perfect for a techno track was the sample by Morgan Freeman's character in the movie Glory. I think it's an 80s movie. It's about the US Civil War, and Morgan Freeman's character gives this incredible speech the night before they're going to take part in this battle, in which pretty much everybody dies, but they die for freedom. And so I thought, you know what, that would be a great idea. So I brought the sample to Pete, and he sort of played around with it, and he asked me what kind of sounds I was looking to hear in the track. And so I talked about, you know, like a dissonant sort of wicked sound for like a synth, and also a sort of, as I called it at the time, an acid whip, which turned out, you know, it wasn't quite an acid sound, but it was a sound that I had heard something similar in a track going back to the 90s. And I told him about the type of acid work that I like to hear, you know, just really bubbling and constantly on fire throughout the tune. And through my discussions and his production skills and capabilities, we put together a track called Standin' Up. And the first version of it I thought was absolutely brilliant, and I'm actually mad at myself because later he gave an update to it, and the updated version was even more incredible. But I wish I wouldn't have deleted that first version. I think I should have called it like Died for Freedom Mix or something, because it had to die for something even better to come after it, which is sort of the theme of the sample and the track. But nevertheless, the second version was even better overall. And so even though our Acid Dub Techno Lineage track was on vinyl, I still had secretly hoped that one day maybe this track, Standing Up, could see the light of day. And I recently actually had a lovely talk with Pete. We actually talked on a video call and sort of caught up. We hadn't talked in a little while. It was really good. We talked about techno and life and so on, and more on that coming in the future. But one of the things we didn't talk about is that apparently Standin' Up has been released on Chris Liberator's awesome Stay Up Forever sublabel, AAA, or Acid Artist in Action. And I was poking around on the Stay Up Forever website, and I discovered this. So I have a copy coming en route right now, but I don't have it in vinyl form. But given that it is now out to purchase, along with 3 other cracking tracks by Pete, I figured let's listen to it. So Pete, if you see this, once again, you're a champion, you're an awesome person, and your production skills are some of the best in the business, and I think it is evident in the fact that I was able to describe what I wanted to hear in a track, and Pete basically took that and made it a reality. So let's listen to it. This is a track that is now out on AAA Records, a sub-label of Stay Up Forever, run by Chris Liberator, and it's called Standin' Up, and it's by Bad Boy Pete and yours truly. I can't even believe it's coming out on vinyl. I'm blown away. So once again, shout out to Pete. There's so many things I'd like to comment about, but I'll try to be concise here. I'll just say that number one, it is almost exactly the sounds and the stylings that I had in my head when we began talking about working on another track together, which is not only a testament to Pete being able to create sounds that sounded like I was referring to, but his ability to take a set of ideas and translate them into an actual tune is so impressive. Now, to be fair, like, we had talked about tracks before, and so the first couple times I kind of was all over the map, and then I learned how he worked, and so I was able, in this occasion, to be a bit more focused and concise when I brought some ideas to him. So it was obviously a collaboration in a legitimate respect, but, you know, he's the one twisting the knobs and adjusting the sounds in an engineering sense. So his ability to translate an idea into a track just continues to blow me away. And yes, there were several specific reference points. There's a sort of like back and forth synth that to my mind trace back to an old tune by Roland the Bastard, engineered by the Geezer, which I think it was on FU2, and that track was in my mind a lot when we collaborated on this tune here. There's a track on the Telica label, which is like an offshoot of the Eve label, which, you know, it's like acid trance, not acid techno, but there was like this almost like shattered electric glass sound that I was like calling an acid whip because of the way it sort of like unfurls. And that was a sound that I described to Pete, and he was able to create his own version of in this tune, I think, very effectively. And then, again, there were some differences between the first version of Standing Up and this version. In the first version, there was like this hot sort of laser sound, and then in this version, it became more like this wicked, dissonant, like murder of crows, like this electric group of crows making this like cry type sound. And so that layer not only evolved, but was very close to what I was thinking in my head, and like, oh, I want this kind of like wicked, like almost like alarm style sound. And that became an even better element in the final version. Of course, the acid, it's bubbling, it's wicked, it's sharp, it has all the characteristics that I love. And my favorite part is, you know, there's those two breakdowns and drops with the full sample, and more on the sample in a minute. But when, after the second drop, it goes for a little bit, and then as it gets into the final quarter of the track, it sort of takes that breath and gives you a little bit of the sample again, and then it drops in as concentrated and focused and wicked as at any other point in the track. I think it was the moment when my head was going to explode just now listening to it. That's my favorite part of the tune, so I absolutely love that section. And there's no wasted motion. It does exactly what it needs to do. It gives you an intro and an outro for DJs, but even in those opening and ending moments, it's not just a kick and a hat and a clap. There's still enough bass and synth work going on that you can use the full tune in a DJ mix, where, I talk about it sometimes, if like the first 128 is just like a kick and a clap and a hat, it's like, it could be any tune. There's not as much distinction. And not that I mind tracks that have a long intro and outro, but I like it when a long intro and an outro are accompanied by sonics that are part of the tune more fully. So yeah, in terms of composition and chronology, I think it's fantastic. It's perfect. It's exactly what I wanted. And then the sample itself, which again I procured because I think about samples a lot. Sometimes I'm watching a movie or a show and oh my god, I gotta write that down because that might end up in one of my mixes. And in this case, it ended up on an actual record in an actual track. But yeah, I've always thought that movie, it's a very emotionally profound movie. Again, the speech from Morgan Freeman's character is just legendary. And that idea of look, I want people to know that, like, if we die tomorrow, we did so facing our enemy. We didn't back away. We didn't cower away. We went down standing up. You know, we didn't duck. We didn't get out of the way. We faced it head on, and we were standing tall and proud when we went down. And not only that, we were among people who were fighting against our oppression. It was, you know, all of us and other people who aren't even oppressed, but who didn't like what was happening to us. We're all together. That's how we went down, standing up together with people who were fighting against our oppression. We died for freedom. So again, the idea of something causing a greater thing to come after it, even if it comes at its own expense, I just thought was a great idea for an acid techno sample, and here it is in practice. So once again, big shout out to Bad Boy Pete. Shout out to Chris for not only all he does and running the AAA label, but finding a place for this track on an EP by Bad Boy Pete. So yeah, shout out to all the folks involved. Let me know what you think of this one. I'll see you next time. Peace.